Welcome back, Algebra with Finance B students, for part 2 of our Unit 4 review. So here is problem 5. According to the 10% savings rule that automatically adjusts to your earnings, how much would you save if your check showed earnings of 2,482 cents? What math would you do? Who remembers? Yes, find 10% of 2,482 $2. Remember, of always means to multiply. Good job. Okay, and then remember, you can't calculate with a percent, you have to change it to a decimal. Take the percent sign off, move your hidden decimal 2 places to the left, and that gives you 0.10. Now we can go ahead and we can multiply. Okay, so 0.10 times 2,482 on your calculator screen might not have the 0 at the end. So if you just use just enter this as your answer and it's a short answer question where you have to show your work and write out your answer, that will be considered wrong. We have to know you know what point 2 means as money. So your answer looks like this. Great job. Problem 6. What is the future value? Future value. Remember we talked about present and future value of the 10% savings from earnings of $42,000 if it earns 6.25% annual interest compounded quarterly, not monthly, quarterly for 15 years. So a couple things with this before we even get this formula out. When we reviewed this, the problem we used was the future value of the amount that she was saving per paycheck. Look at this. It was like a $380 paycheck, weekly paycheck. We are calculating the future value of 10% savings on $42,000. So it's going to be a much over 15 years. And I think this is a higher interest rate than we used in the lesson. So our answer is going to be much larger than the answer we came up with. Okay, so remember to use the compound interest formula. And you guys are becoming experts at formulas. You know by now that to solve this, you're going to take out the variables and replace it with numbers. And where do those numbers come from? The information given to you in the problem. Okay? So let's just start with the P. The P is the principal amount that we are saving. Uh-oh. I don't really see it up here in this problem. What I see is 10% savings from the $42,000 that she earns or he earns a year. So we have a little math just like we did here. Okay? Little math to do. And what is that math? 10% of $42,000. Because this is the salary, so to speak, or just the overall amount, but we're only using 10% of that. So that's why we have to take 10% of that. They didn't give that to us, so it's just an extra step. So find 10% of $42,000. Okay, this is what you should multiply. And check your calculator screen. Pause the video. Do you get this? Do you get $4,200? $4,200. Okay, so we found our principal amount. we're going to take this capital P out and we're going to put in $4,200. Okay, so the rest of the formula, and if you're using Desmos, make sure you put in the left parenthesis, then 1 plus, the rate. What's the rate? It's right there, 6.25%, but we don't work with percents. We change it to a decimal. So 0.0625. And if you want to see what that looks like, let's just go ahead up here, 6.25%. Okay, here's the percent sign. Take it off. Take that, take that off. And oh, look at this. Your decimal is visible. It's not hidden. It's not behind the 5 because this is 6.25%. So now you move it 2 places to the left. Put it in there. And notice there's no digit here. You have to fill it in. So 0.0625. Okay, so the N, this is where it's different than we have used before. Remember N, think of that as the number of payments per year. Okay, so if it's compounded monthly, how many months are in a year? 12, right? And that's the problems that we have mostly seen. But now it's quarterly. So when you see quarterly, that means that you are paying, how many quarters are in a dollar? Think of. You're paying 4 times a year, not 12 times a year. You're paying 4 times a year. Okay, so your N is 4 and your T is the number of years. That is it, 15. You got it. You now are experts at this formula. Plug it in exactly how you see it, okay? And then solve. So when you have a short answer problem, these are the steps that we need to see. These are the steps that get you your full credit. If you give us the answer with no work, because maybe you did use the Desmos calculator, you put it all in and you got this answer down here that we'll get to. I'm trying to get my arrow. You will not get full credit. Okay, so these are the steps that we need to see. And if you do use your Desmos calculator, go ahead and make sure this is in the box where you write your answer out. And then you can type, I entered this into the Desmos calculator, and this down here is the answer I got. Okay, but if you like to write it out, these are the steps. So what I did was I just cleaned up the math to make it easier to see and enter into a calculator. So you can see 42 is the same, left parenthesis, 1, brought the 1 down, plus, brought the plus sign down. Okay, and then I divided this out. 0.0625 divided by 4 gives me this. And then I multiplied the exponents. 4 times 15 is 60. Okay, from here, you can go ahead and enter this into your Desmos calculator. You can use your phone calculator in the scientific mode because you're using exponents. Okay, and then I just took it one step farther so you can check your work to make sure you're doing it right. What does this parenthesis raise to the 60th power? Oh, no, not yet. I just went ahead and added these two numbers together. Okay, so now I know I'm going to raise this number to the 60th power. Again, I am breaking this down into extra steps that you don't necessarily have to do. Now, what is 1.0156 to the 60th power? It's this. And then you multiply these two numbers together, and look at this. At this annual interest rate, over 15 years, at the 10% savings of $42,000, you will have, at the end of 15 years, this amount of money. Okay? They think, remember, this is the future value. They are mathematically predicting the future. So things can go wrong. The annual interest rate could go way up. You might not be able to afford this amount. So there are factors. Okay. Last problem. Try this one. Justin contributes $208 each month to a savings account that earns 5% annual interest rate compounded monthly. We know what that means. That it's calculated every single month and how many months are in a year. Okay, so calculate his annuity savings over the course of 25 years with this formula. It's in a different form. Okay, this formula is different than this formula, right? Looks similar, but it's just different math, okay? You can do it. Find the P, find the R, find the N. Okay, so the principal amount is the amount that he contributes. How much does Justin contribute? $208, right? What's the rate? What's the rate of it's 5% annual interest rate divided by 12. So in this formula, we need the interest rate per month. This is given to us as the annual. So remember, in the formula, the rate is the monthly rate. Okay? If the formula just used the annual interest rate, it would be 5. It'd be 0.05 actually. But the formula requires the monthly interest rate because it's compounded monthly. Okay, so you divide by 12. Take the percent sign off, move your decimal place 2 places to the left. So 0.05 divided by 12, that R equals 0.0042. Okay, so the N, let's look at the N. It's over the course of 25 years. So in this case, notice there's no T, right? T for time. So in this formula, for the annuity savings, the N represents the time. 12 monthly interest amounts, once every month for 25 years. So that multiplied together is 300 times this amount the interest is being compounded. It's being calculated. Plug it in. You guys are experts at this. Take out the P and put in the number. Take out the R, put in the number. Take out the N, put in the number. Take out the R, put in the number. And then put it into your Desmos calculator. But make sure that you have these parentheses here. If you end up getting errors, then take it one step at a time. I would recommend, if you get an error, I would recommend doing this first, calculating this out, okay? And then subtract 1 and divide that by 0.0042. Okay, so I recommend if you have to do it in parts, remember part 1 and part 2, we talked about this. Okay, so this is 208 times all of this. But you have to find this cloud-like, you have to find this amount first. Okay, so use your Desmos calculator. That's how I would do it actually. I would do it in parts. Okay, so this is like part 1 and this is part 2. And then multiply part 1 and part 2 together. And when you do that, look at that. His savings over 25 years. But this is Justin every single month contributing $208 into his savings account. Compounded, the interest is calculated monthly at 5%. So, things can change, but this is amazing. So something to think about. Start saving now. Can you afford this? Can you find this interest rate? I hope this helps. Have a great day.